All right, I think we are recording. Good afternoon or morning, whenever you're watching this. This is Denis Horrigan with Connecticut Wealth Management. I have with me my partner in crime, Kevin Leahy, founder and CEO of Connecticut Wealth Management, and we have an awesome treat today. We have an old friend and colleague, Bob Mauterstock, who has actually his biggest claim to fame, I would say, is that he hired Kevin and me years ago, and now he has his own business called Plan for Life. Bob, can you tell us a little bit about Plan for Life? What you folks
Sure.
actually do?
Well, after I retired from working with you guys and took a little rest, I started working with financial advisors and talking to them about how to work with aging clients and issues that they face. I've written a few books in that area related. Passing the Torch is one of them. Passing the Torch, Critical Conversations with Your Adult Children, and a few other books. Can We Talk was another book. But as a result of that, talking to a lot of advisors, discovered they really didn't understand the issues facing older people. And I said, it's time to start educating people so they can learn more about that. And I was doing a presentation out in Wisconsin, and the lady there who was the sponsor of the meeting was a woman named Annalee Kruger, who's been a social worker for 25 years. And we got talking, and we both agreed that we need to do something. Something needs to happen to educate financial advisors about all these issues. So we started this organization, Plan for Life. We've held 2 live workshops in various parts of the country. And now we're preparing an online course for advisors that'll be available in the fall. It's a 14-part course working with all the issues that advisors face.
That's don't
know what to do.
Yeah, so Bob has a lot of experience, has been in this industry for quite a while, and has faced almost every situation. So today, what he's going to talk with us about and talk with everybody who's watching, is some of those issues that we should all be aware of that senior citizens are facing today, but also some issues that senior citizens are facing in general. And he's going to give us some ideas about how to approach maybe your parents, or perhaps you are a senior citizen and you're looking for some guidance as to how to handle some of these issues that come along with aging. So honestly, Bob, it's awesome to see you. It's very cool to talk with you in this manner, and it's great to see you. So thanks for spending some time with us.
It's a real pleasure. And I hope if there's some of my older clients out there who are still all around, I want to mention to them that they made a right decision staying with you guys, because you've done a great job and it's worked out really well. I'm so proud of you and what you've accomplished. Great organization.
Thank you, Bob. There are an awful lot of them. You're spoken about often, as you well know, and I know we talk about this privately, but it's pretty cool to see your smiling face. I can't stop smiling and see you on this little video chat as one of my mentors, and so it's really cool. So let's maybe jump into, Bob. I know there's a million different directions we could go in, and in general, you're talking about the needs of older folks and so forth. As we sit here, and the reason Dennis and I started doing this little video series is obviously because of COVID and people being stuck in their homes, trying to get information out to people as a resource. What sorts of things maybe are acutely coming across with the elder population?
Well, first of all, we are the most at-risk group. Anyone 65 and older, 8 out of 10 of the people who have died as a result of the virus are in that age group, 65 to 85. So we are the greatest group at risk. And the one that's becoming increasingly evident are people who are in nursing home situations. I've got right in front of here an article that just appeared in the paper here 2 days ago. Nursing home deaths soar past 3,300 in alarming surge. That is a horrendous problem. And one of the reasons for that is that most of these nursing homes have part-time workers who are there for 10 hours, somewhere else for 10 hours, and they never get tested. So some of these people bring the virus into a facility, and it spreads like crazy. Well, the first facility was in Seattle, a life care place that had 37 deaths. That was our first situation with the virus in the United States. But that's created a real problem. Last night, for example, I was on the phone with a friend of mine whose dad is 95 years old, and he's got a full-time woman staying in the home 24 hours a day, but it's just not working out anymore. He's got diminished capacity. She can't handle him. And he's afraid to put his father into a nursing home.
So
once he puts him in there, he won't be able to see him anymore.
Yeah.
That's it. You've seen pictures, I'm sure, in the news of people talking to their family members through glass windows, and that's the only way that they can see them. So what you do right now, when you're in the situation where you've got a family member that you can no longer handle at home, and I work with a lot of Alzheimer's families here on the Cape, you can no longer handle them at home, but are you willing to take the risk to put them into a facility? And as a matter of fact, many of the nursing homes, especially here on Cape Cod, have closed their doors. They're not letting anybody in. And if you want to get in, you have to get tested twice with negative results both times before they'll let you in. So it's a real crisis, and it's not going to change overnight. I mean, we've already got a crisis in the nursing home world without this happening, because there are fewer and fewer workers who are willing and able to work in nursing homes for the wages they get. And the nursing homes aren't making any money.
Mm-hmm.
As more and more of their patients go on Medicare, Medicaid, and our state Mass Health, the nursing homes aren't making enough money to cover their expenses. So we've lost two facilities here on Cape Cod as a result of that. And that's not going to change. The other issue there is the whole issue of caregivers. Right now, for every person who needs care, there are possibly 6 to 7 family members who can take care of them. As we age and as this population ages, and there are fewer and fewer children for boomers, it's going to go down to about 3 or 4 caregivers for each person. And it's a very difficult job. And I don't know, I'm not sure either one of you have been in that position. And fortunately, I didn't have to be in it for very long, but a caregiver role, either as a spouse or a child, is a really, really difficult job, a very difficult job. And many families don't know how to handle it. I mean, I can remember meeting with a client way back when and talking to him and asking him, well, if you need care, who's going to take care of you? And in the meeting was his wife, his daughter-in-law, and his son. And he looked at his daughter-in-law and said, well, she's going to take care of me. And she was absolutely stunned. She said, wait a minute, I've got a full-time job. I've got 2 children. How am I going to take care of you? And that's the situation that is going to continue to increase. And so how do we replace those caregivers?
Well, Bob, I don't know if I'm pretty sure this is a veiled question as to whether either of us will help take care of you. And Dennis absolutely has said that he would. Just give him a call.
Well, we have another room in the Cape, so
awesome. Yeah. Always wanted to live on the Cape.
There's plenty of room.
Hey, thanks,
I was going to jump in, but I know Dennis really, he asked first, so.
Thank you. But Bob, seriously, what is a family to do? The story you were just telling, I think that's probably pretty rare and fortunate that they actually had a conversation. Is that something that people should be doing right now? Well,
this is the perfect time for us boomers, retired boomers, we have plenty of time. So it's time to review your entire financial situation. When was the last time you read your will? Who's the executor of your will? Do you remember who that person is? And do you have your healthcare proxy? Do you have a durable power of attorney? And it's critical, and I know people don't want to talk about it, but it's critical to have an end of life plan. Because unfortunately, you've seen all these situations. I can be healthy right now, and 2 weeks from now, I can be in an ICU, and life there is very difficult. So we are in a situation where people have to pay more attention to end-of-life planning. I can remember talking to clients, and we'd get into the conversation, and it was always, well, if something happens to me, and I'd look at them and say, well, do you know something I don't know? Is it an if? I thought all of us were going to die, but people don't want to talk about that. And I use something I think is a great tool. It's called the 5 Wishes, and it's available through an organization called agingwithdignity.org. It's a little booklet, and it has 5 sections and asks you questions about how you want to be taken care of. It's all of us should fill it out, because what it does, it makes you think about all the issues you're going to face when, in fact, if you're very seriously ill. So we should all fill that out. And people say, well, how do I open up the conversation about end-of-life planning with my parents? How do I do that? Well, the perfect solution is to fill this out for yourself, bring it to your mom and dad and say, this is what I've done. What do you think of it? And let them stop and read it. And guess what? They'll start talking about their own situation. And you just happen to have a couple extra of these along with you and say, why don't you fill these out and share them with me? Because it's a conversation that has to happen. There's another organization called the conversationproject.org, started by a woman in Boston who went through a terrible situation with her own family, her own mother, who had dementia. And at the end, doctors were asking her, well, should we do this? Should we do that? Should we do this? And she had no clue what her mother wanted. So it was terrible. So she started this organization called the Conversation Project to give you the assistance to learn how to open up the conversation. And it's good stuff. It's really good stuff. But this has to happen. And then the next step is, when have you talked to your healthcare proxy yet? Do they know what you want? It's for most of us, our healthcare proxy is our spouse, but do they really know what we want to happen when we're seriously ill? And we got to have that conversation. So that is part of the overall process of getting all your stuff together. And then now in the critical age of Zoom, it's a perfect opportunity to put together a family meeting. Once you've got this stuff together, you say, all right, we're going to have a family meeting and get together with your kids on Zoom and talk about this stuff. It's the perfect opportunity because they're not going anywhere and you're not going anywhere.
Bob, what's the, it sounds like starting the conversation might be the hardest single thing to do. Beyond that, is there something that you've seen that is the next, sticking point or most difficult thing for people to talk about?
Well, I mean, it's generally parents talking to their children about anything related to end-of-life matters. I can remember the first time I tried to talk to my daughter I said, listen, Steph, I want to talk to you about the end of my life. And she said, whoa, no way. We're not talking about that. You're fine. You're healthy. But they have to understand that it's more important to me than it is to them to be able to communicate this. Because once you have it off your shoulders, it's done. You don't have to do it again. You talk to them once and it's all over. And that's it. So and of course, there's a lot of other things you need to talk to them about, but you don't really need to get involved in finances very much. All they need to know is, are you okay? Can you handle yourself financially? Are we going to have to help you? And if that's not the case, well, then they don't really need to know anymore. They don't need to know anymore.
So I listened to your webinar last week, Bob, and it was awesome. And so I checked out that Conversation Project website. It's great. It really has some great tools to spark a conversation. That's a great suggestion. Let me ask you another question. This is more, I guess, current events. is I have a sense that people that have some memory issues, this isolation that folks are kind of under, whether it's a couple at home or a single person at home who can't interact with their children as easily, that it's having a negative impact on their memory. Am I imagining that? Maybe it's my memory that's going, but is that in fact the case? Is this negatively impacting people's cognitive abilities?
The fact that they're not communicating with their families?
That they're isolated? Yeah.
Absolutely. Isolation affects people dramatically. I mean, just do some studies. I was watching a TV show last night, the impact of being in prison in a one of the cells where you can't talk to anybody. That eventually will destroy your mind. And it's true with seniors who are alone. And 30% of people who are older live alone. And that's why I think it's critical for those of us who have any older people as clients is to get in touch with them right away to find out how they're doing, because depression will work on them very quickly if they haven't had communication with people. And in many cases, like for example, here on the Cape, you've got older people who live here, but their kids are all over the country. And the kids see them maybe once or twice a year because they're in Chicago or in California. So it's important to build up, for them to build up a network of friends that they can communicate with. And that, I think that's one of the advantages of having this new form of communication through Zoom, because they're learning how to use it. My wife has a program, they do a weekly a French club gathering. And several of these women in this French club are in their 80s. And here they are for the first time, and they are all speaking French. I have no idea what they're saying. But
talking about you.
but they have a wonderful time, and they're able to have their club online. And that just brings up another point. I think the era now of communication via Zoom and other types of programs is going to change the way we interact with professionals. I just had a physician's appointment 2 weeks ago, and in the past, when I've met with he's an orthopod, in the past when I met with him, I'd have to drive to his office, take 20 minutes, sit in the waiting room for 45 minutes, and finally see him for 15 minutes. Well, 2 weeks ago, we had a Zoom meeting. I was on the phone with him, off in 15 minutes, done. He had my X-ray right up there on his screen. He could talk to me. I think it's going to impact medical appointments significantly. There's going to be a dramatic increase in telemedicine as we all learn how much more efficient it can be.
You know, one of the things that occurs to me right now is that, you know, the instances of elder abuse has skyrocketed over the past few years. And you're in a situation right now where the federal government is rolling out more and more programs, sending direct payments to taxpayers across the country. And it opens up senior citizens to, all sorts of scams. So I think that's also something that a child should be telling a senior citizen, you know, don't take a phone call from the IRS.
Right. Yeah, that's an area that has continued to increase as a problem. I was looking up information on Connecticut, and there's a specific line. It's called Protective Services for the Elderly in Connecticut. And if you want to write down the phone number is 888-385-4221. And anyone who thinks that their family member is getting abused can call this line and talk to the protective services people about the situation, because there's going to be more of these related to the virus. And I understand people are getting called, giving them information about the virus from these scam artists, and that's going to continue to happen. So it's critical that, again, we as their advisors keep in touch with them and find out what their situation is. There are programs that you can connect to your bank account that can tell you when there's been any unusual activity, and you can identify a family member. Let's say, for example, you've got an older client who's got a bank account. He can connect his son to this account to notify him if there's any unusual activity in that account. It's an email sent to them saying, these are unusual activities. Do you want to approve these or not? And that type of program is something that protects the parent and their child. But unfortunately, almost half of these elder abuse situations come from a family member. That's the amazing part. I remember meeting with a worker up in Orleans who talked about one of her clients who she was certain really needed to go into a nursing home, but her daughter wouldn't let her. And I asked, well, why won't her daughter let her? Because her Social Security checks come to the house. And the daughter deposits them every month in her account. So there are a lot of those situations happening all the time. So it's very important for advisors. Now there's a new rule under FINRA that allows advisors to stop and refuse to make payment on a check request for a period of time. In the past, if a client called you up and said, well, I need $5,000, sell it in my account and send it to me. Well, now, according to FINRA, you can delay that payment for a period of time. I think it's up to 25 days to determine if, in fact, that was a fraudulent request. And if your client calls you up and says, well, I got a new friend and I want to add them to my bank account. I remember one time I had a client who she had been in a very serious automobile accident, and her sister was overseeing her. And her sister came to me and said, my sister just bought a new car. It was in the driveway, but my sister can't drive. And I said, what? And she said, oh yeah, she found a new boyfriend and he decided that she needed a new car. Well, fortunately, they were able to take that car back to the dealer and have that deal nixed. But that happens. Those types of things happen all the time.
Well, along those lines, I don't forget to send that federal deposit that the COVID-19 deposit, Bob, to Dennis's account like you promised.
By the way, I got mine last Wednesday.
Boy, good.
Immediately. Of course, it depends. It varies based upon your income. They reduce it based upon incomes upon a certain level. But within 3 days, I got it. I couldn't believe it. So I don't know why they picked me out, but
because you're Bob. You're Bob Mauterstock. That's why. So I think I want to. We're pushing on 20 minutes here, so I think we'll probably cut it there. But just as a real quick aside, if anyone is still listening, the IRS will never call or will never send an email. So tell your parents to ignore it if they get a phone call or an email from the IRS.
And
Bob,
ignore any situation where somebody from Apple or your bank or someone else says, we need you to confirm your address and ID information with us. Don't answer those because those are all scams.
Yeah.
All of
them. Hey, Bob, it's awesome to see you. So that was great. There were some really good ideas and advice for people. A couple really good sources, that 5 Wishes document, the Conversation Project, really good ideas for folks who are children of boomers to have conversations with their parents. If you are a boomer, start thinking about your a conversation you want to have with your children about your end of life decisions. Really, really appreciate you taking the time and talking to us from the Cape. And we miss you, and we hope to see you really soon.
Well, it's really a pleasure to talk to you guys. And I can't repeat it. I can't say again how glad I am that you guys are doing so well. It's the business is just, well, I taught you guys the right way.
Good mentor. Yep.
Well, thank you, Bob. And to put it back on you again, I know the work you're doing to prevent elder care abuse, take care of, the elderly. You're not doing it to line your pockets. You're doing it out of the goodness of the heart.
It's not a really lucrative business.
Trust me, I know.
Anything.
I know. And correct me if I'm wrong. I think it began with, your mom and
Right.
even your dad's, having issues late in life and understanding what it takes to go through that, even when you're a financial advisor, and how difficult it is. And for you to be out there helping people is just really, really great. So always great to see your smiling face, and really appreciate everything you do.
I got to tell you a quick story before we break. My mom had Alzheimer's for almost 10 years, and everyone's greatest fear is what's going to happen when she can't remember who I am. I mean, that's your greatest fear, that, oh my God, what'll I do when she doesn't know me anymore? Well, about 3 years into the disease, my mom discovered that I was no longer her son, I was her younger brother. So she would talk to me as her younger brother. But in that conversation, she would talk about how great her son was. And I always used to say, gee, would you tell me more about your son? I really want to hear more about him. And it was for the first time in my life, I got favorable comments from my mother.
Oh, that's awesome.
So don't lose hope if your mom or dad don't remember who you are anymore.
As long as they say nice things about me.
That's right. As long as they say nice things. But again, it's a real pleasure talking to you guys. We've always had one of the great things about working together is we always had a lot of fun. It was we had a great time, and we helped people, and it worked out really well.
Yeah, for sure. Awesome. Great.
All
All right, Bob. Stay well. All right, buddy.
Stay healthy. Wear your masks.
Yes, sir.
Sorry.